Hey everyone, Margarita here. I want to talk in this video about how my mother targeted the Maslow's 1943 hierarchy of needs, which is a theory of human motivation. So I'm going to show a picture of it, and this is what the basic human being needs to survive and then build forward in life. So I'm just going to turn this and show the pyramid right there. Okay, so that bottom level is what's needed first, your physiological needs, and that's the fundamental biological requirements for survival, like air, water, food, shelter, housing, protection from outside, clothing, sleep, reproduction. Those are the bottom level needs that one needs to start. And then above that, it's safety needs, security and predictability in one's environment, personal security, no violence, crime, war, health and well being, stable environments, financial security, safety nets. The next one up is love and belonging, social connection and acceptance. Family, friendship, community, romantic relationships, group membership, affection, and intimacy. The next one up is esteem, recognition, competence, and respect, self respect, confidence, respect from others, reputation, recognition, and achievement. Realizing one's full potential is at the very top. Self actualization, creativity, personal growth, moral development, pursuit of meaning, purpose driven action, and peak experience. Also, joy, transcendence, and insight. So, now I just want to talk about this because it's easier to reference um, this pyramid than it is to fully explain what she's been out here doing for decades, because she has targeted all of those things when it comes to me nonstop, and this has been going on for decades. At the very bottom, you need air, water, and food and shelter to survive. I went without oxygen to the brain. It was 13 months that I remained in an altered state of consciousness continuously. And then going forward, I stayed in an extreme state of suffocation with my brain sagging and swelling continuously for 34 and a half months before there was one day of relief. So the fact that she caused all of that, the reason the injury happened, she caused that to happen in the first place. Um, how this all came about, those were her actions at the root. And then once we were injured, she prevented treatment directly in the medical system in person. I watched her do it more than once and got other employees to enter false information into mine and my son's medical records. So the very basic things you need just to live, just to stay alive through each minute, I was severely deprived of oxygen for a very long time. And there's still an ongoing issue, and I can become in a state of suffocation very fast. So, that's led to my permanent injuries. And then at the same time, she had been forcing me from all of my homes, every home that I've owned, all except for one of them, and two that I've rented. And it's due to her using CPS and other agencies to chase me from different homes. That's been going on all along. And then the next one up, personal security. Now I've been dragged from my home fraudulently by the cops because she has them believing this was not my house when it was all 100% provable. When I'm the only adult in the house, and they believed the delusion she was calling with instead of actually looking at any of what was going on. And I was severely re-injured, and over $100,000 in treatments that I paid for out of pocket was reversed due to that, which then led to further suffering and incapacitation and loss of quality of life after already losing 5 years prior to that. So those were her actions that caused all of that. And um, she was trying to make sure that my son and I didn't recover from our injuries as well. That goes with health and well being. And she wanted to make sure that I would always lose my home, so I looked unstable. So that way, the false narrative she was telling everybody and growing over the course of time, that way it would look real. So that's part of why she was using all those agencies to chase me from my different homes. Why all the problems and everything going on, that's what she had been doing. And if the opportunity arises, she won't hesitate to do it again tomorrow. So also on there is financial security. She has targeted all of my businesses and has wiped me out financially 3 times down to nothing and a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. So just due to that alone, she's also had people come to my different places of employment and cause problems. So that way I would lose my income and wouldn't be able to provide for myself, which then would go, at that time, would go hand in hand with how I was paying for hyperbaric oxygen treatment. So then I'd have loss of oxygen as well and in a continuous state of suffering as well. So that was serving more than one purpose. That's what she was after. That's what she was doing. There's been many jobs that I've had over the course of time or different businesses that she's completely disrupted, wiped out, or she managed to get me fired from. I believe it was just one place, but at the same time, in the last 5 years, she was heavily targeting how I make my money and my entertainment business and sending many people down there to basically get me fired, but not really fired because I work for myself. So that's what she's been doing. It's been going on nonstop since shortly after I bought this house, which was in 2017. And shortly after that is when she uh, began doing that very heavily. It was already going on in the past, just not continuous. But it became continuous shortly after I bought this house because she's so jealous and envious. She had to make sure that I lost my ability to pay for my home. And then here she is in the background still telling everybody that this isn't my home, this is my ex's home. He pays all the bills, he bought the house. None of that was ever real. Even prior to this, she was already doing that prior to this. When I've been single my entire adult life, doing the same thing all along, forcing me from different homes to make her false narrative look true. Um, then the next level up when it comes to social connection and acceptance, love and belonging, she targeted every relationship that I've had, all of my children, my dad, anybody around me. She targeted any of those people, anybody she could get to. And she wouldn't do it herself. Most of the time, she would use third parties. So it didn't look like this is what she was doing, but she repeats delusions to everyone, and then it causes further problems. And she was doing this with my dad, who was then repeating it in my house. And then my 2 older kids, this was happening to. It was being repeated in my house. It then jumped into my ex. It traveled on to a whole bunch of people around me to where everybody was screaming her delusions. And it's not just that, because she also, anybody I know, basically, anybody that I could, any family members, anything, she trashed my name and grew a false narrative about me from the time I was such a small child that all her hundreds of family members have been believing everything she's been saying about me for all these decades, because she began that at such a young age and then grew it. And then once I was on my own and I left and I had my own kids, that's where she began using my dad to get my older kids in her possession so she could present this false narrative even further, and she could repeat delusions to all of them, who would all eventually then cause problems down the line, which is exactly what happened. So she did all of that, and so now you're talking hundreds of people anywhere in the community, and all the delusional phone calls to all the agencies, the police departments, all the problems I've had, she's caused all of those. So basically any situation that's ever gone on in my life, she's inserted herself in. So that's pretty much 100% of everything I've been doing, she's destroyed. And then you have above that esteem, self-respect, confidence, respect from others, reputation, recognition, and achievement. She's destroyed that as well, because she's been trashing my reputation, making everybody believe I'm the exact opposite of who I am as a person. And so I have an entire community of people, and hundreds, if not over 1,000 people, who view me as somebody that I'm not, because there's so many agencies and people involved in what she's done, and the false narrative she's told about me, and the amount of false police reports, and everything that's gone on with my dad, the care facilities, the different hospitals. Now we're talking hundreds, if not over 1,000 people, between everybody she knows and all these people locally who um, basically have an entire false narrative about me, refuse to look into me at all, and they help participate in the harassment and the crimes against me. Every person continues to do so. Nobody ever listens to anything I'm saying. She just says she's the mother. They believe her immediately. And that should be a big red flag with the way she says it, because she says the mother, not that she's my mother. She's the mother. And it's because she's never been a mother. There's never been a relationship. There hasn't been contact in decades. Those are all delusions coming out of her mouth. So that's a huge red flag, the way she's saying it, and nobody's noticing. And then at the top of all of this is self-actualization, which is where I would be reaching my full potential and continuing to grow and develop businesses and grow as a person and do everything that I've been doing. And that's all been completely disrupted. Every aspect of my life has been disrupted. I've been living in extreme chaos for decades. There's no vacationing, there's no relaxing, there's no, we're just going to go relax over here or do this or do that. I've never had that. It's constant chaos, constant picking up the pieces from all the harassment and all the crimes, and it's constant, constant, constant. It's been for decades. There's no break from it ever. Because it's gotten so far out of hand the last 10 years or so, it's been so far out of hand that the only way to stop all this and reel it all in is for arrests to be made and the salt to be stopped and my money to be turned over to me, because that's what's at the root of all this, is the missing stolen trust fund that belongs to me. So the fact that she's been able to get away with all this is absolutely absurd. It's just an easier way of showing what's been going on. I don't know if this is some book that she read that taught her how to target the hierarchy of needs, or if that's something she figured out on her own, or if she's even looking at that at all and decided to do this, or if this is something outside of her even knowing this pyramid exists. I feel like she probably does know, because she did used to read some books. Just like how I believe it was is it the 48 laws of power or the 50 laws of power? She's doing that as well. So maybe I'll do a video on that separately, but that is a whole other list of all of these tactics she's using to destroy, because it's literally been nonstop my entire life. A lot of people aren't aware that this is what's been going on in the background, my entire life. There's no way they would know, because these friends and family members, I've been on my own for a long time. Oh, excuse me. I don't have contact with any of these people. So, yeah, even like people in my life don't realize that this has been going on 100% of the time nonstop. And I've been forced to deal with this my entire life, that I've never actually gotten to live my life because I always have to accommodate all of this. So this is fully what's been going on. It's literally every aspect of my life has been targeted, has been destroyed repeatedly over and over and over. And once I start picking up the pieces, she throws another grenade and, blows it all apart all over again. And it's just been going on in that manner for a very long time. And then I take 2 steps forward, and then boom, she drops another grenade and 5 steps back. Then I start climbing again. I make it 10 steps forward, and then boom, 3 steps back. And so I do inch along. I still do inch along towards everything I've been working on all my life, but I should be way further ahead of where I am. In the last couple of videos I mentioned, at this point I would have already had this mortgage paid off twice, and there was never supposed to be a mortgage on this house. So now you're looking at, I could have had it paid for 3 times in the last 13 years or so. That's absolutely ridiculous, because it wouldn't have been one house. It would have been numerous houses, which all would have been producing income. And then I would have grown that income even faster. And there would have been further purchases, shortly after purchasing that third home, it would have turned into more purchases. So everything she's doing has caused disruptions and destruction all along the way to how my money grows, how I make my money, my different businesses. She's out targeting all of it. So when she's targeting my home and my safety and where I live, that's also the next home that's going to be producing income for me when I work on the next home after that. And she's been targeting that every step of the way, because I bought my first home at 18. This has been going on the whole time. It's never stopped. So she's not just targeting the home I live. She's targeting my business, my income, my long-term real estate investments. She's targeting all of my streams of income, all of my businesses. That's what's been going on all along. So yeah, I'm going to come back and talk about it's either 48 laws of power or 50 laws of power, because I noticed she is doing all of those. And so I'll read through those and talk about that, because I think it's like all but 2 of them is what I came to realize. But that's what she's also been using. So I don't know if somebody showed this to her, if she came up with this on her own, or what really, but this is what's been going on. And I'm going to leave that pyramid as the thumbnail to this video. I'll be back with more. Thanks. Bye.